What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unhinged Talk. As usual, I'm your host, Patrick Hennessy. Today, I'm joined by Brian DeGennaro, unfortunately, and Brandon Kramer. How you guys doing tonight?
We're good.
Pretty good,
I'm good.
thanks.
Good. We're just living the usual quarantine life. No baseball, no sports, nothing to do. But we do have one solid piece of news to talk about today, and that is MLB coming up with some psychotic plan, if you ask me, to get baseball underway starting in May. Brandon, you want to give us a little few points about that?
Yeah, so the plan is to start like a short spring training in May. They'll be using Arizona, so the spring training stadiums around there and Chase Field as well. Pretty much if it does get passed, it'll be a June regular season start date, and it's not going to be normal baseball. So some of the points is, well, first of all, the players have one job. They're going to go to the stadium, play the game, come, and then go right back to the hotel and isolate. No going out or anything. So one of the things is they'll have to sign off on not seeing their family for a long time.
That's going to be rough. I couldn't imagine many players actually being down with that.
Yeah.
Garrett
That
Cole
seems
is getting his first kids. I think
Yeah,
they say it was expected in June.
I'm sure he's not the only one that's going to be expecting kids too. Like
yeah.
there's
Or who
there's how
have
many players in
kids.
the MLB? Yeah,
It's a
Yeah.
lot. Quarantine babies.
but so that's one of the stipulations that they have to sign off on not being able to see their family for the entire season, basically.
Yeah, another big
Well,
one is
maybe not the entire season, but for a while at least.
Yeah, I mean, as long as this thing takes its course, which who knows how long it's actually going to be. I feel like if they actually put this plan into place, the idea of it would be to plan on it being the whole season because you don't want to have like a too optimistic plan. You have to
I
prepare for
guess,
the
yeah.
worst, really.
Yeah,
So,
that's why when the whole thing came out, I was like, didn't get my hopes up. Because then when you look in more into the article, some of the points are just like, yeah, this may not work. Because it's not, everyone read the article like, oh, baseball's coming back. But when you read actually the tweet and then the article, it says, and the hurdles they need to pass to get over this. Like one of them is they're going to have to get testing, a bunch of, first of all, coronavirus tests that have rapid turnaround. And of course, that'll be taking away from the public. So that's another thing. You don't want to
yeah,
just
but
take
is
away
is
from.
that even realistic? Like they don't even have tests out now for the public that have rapid turnaround, do they?
I
I'm
think
not
they're
sure.
working on
So
a few, but
So
there's none that
we're
are
expecting we're
ready.
expecting to have thousands of them for MLB in a matter of a month, really. I
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
mean,
I want to be as optimistic as the next guy here about baseball coming back as soon as possible. But obviously, when everyone saw that headline yesterday, it was more like, wow, this might actually happen rather than this is a complete long shot and it doesn't really make complete sense, especially you're going to have every MLB team playing in Arizona. We discussed this before, playing in Arizona in the dead of heat in the summer, and they can't do anything besides play baseball, and that's really it.
it's
I
not
think
like
yeah,
it's
you're
not,
asking a lot from these guys.
and it's
yeah,
not like it's a dugout where it's covered and they actually have air conditioners in the dugout.
Yeah.
They're going to have to.
right,
Some of them are going to be spring training teams, and they all can't be packed in the dugout.
Well, most
right.
of them would be spring training stadiums because there's only one major league field there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
don't. And then you also press the question. Like I know it mentioned in the report too that players wouldn't be able to sit in the dugout; they would have to sit in the stands.
players sitting in the empty stands 6 feet apart, the recommended social distance space instead of the dugout. That's one of the crazy fucking points.
I
Like
mean, come on.
someone hits a fucking
Also,
walk off home run, and then you have them sprinting from the stands.
That's
That's like a
like
scene
an
they
at
injury
can't.
waiting to happen
You
for the
can't.
Yankees.
that's Jesus Montero with the ice
But
cream.
also, think about it this way: how does it work logistically, with the training staff and things like that? I
Stevie
mean,
Donahue.
Yeah, I know genuinely. There's
no, but
so many
seriously,
there's so much personnel that's in the dugout with the team as well. It's
yeah,
not just the players. Where
yeah.
does the manager go? How is he going to be able to interact with his players? How's the locker room situation going to work out? Are they going to have to use I don't understand. How are they going to use the showers?
Sounds like they can't. It sounds like they just go to the stadium and then go straight back to the hotel after the games, right?
Yeah, I mean that's something I didn't think about. Like because you don't have mound visits. Well, no mound visits or visits from the catcher. So,
Doesn't make sense though.
because what if a player
How
gets
is
hurt? You just screaming from the
yeah.
stands.
That's no, but this isn't baseball. Like if we're being completely honest with each other, like if you're telling me if I would prefer this cockamamie game and then like no baseball at all, I think I have to take the route of no baseball, to be completely honest, because I feel like it wouldn't even be the same. Like sure, the first few games we would be like, oh wow, this is awesome to have baseball back. But then as we keep going throughout the summer, it's going to be more like, what are we doing? Like Gleyber Torres and Gary Sanchez are sitting on the bench, not even on the bench, in the stands, 6 feet away from each other. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think if there were maybe a clearer outline of how long this was going to last, it might be realistic. Like if we knew that they wanted to get a certain number of games in and they had to start by this date, but realistically we wouldn't be able to have real games for another month or so,
yeah,
then, it'd be one thing if we knew it was only going to last like a month. But if this is
Yeah.
going to be something that's going to be 4 months or even the whole season, like it just doesn't seem
yeah.
realistic.
That's like my exact opinion on it too. Like if they have this plan in place and they're like, okay, we're only going to use this for 1 month or like the months of May and June, and then August 1st, let's say, we're going to like get back to normal, and then by the postseason, we'll allow fans back in stadiums and everything will be completely back to normal, then I might be on board with it. But just taking this plan into the season just for the idea of like playing just to play with no substance to it, I don't think I would be on board. Like the only thing I could compare this to is like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with WWE, but like I know that they had like their biggest event of the year, like WrestleMania, and usually they hold it at like massive football stadiums with like 70,000 people. They had it in like a little warehouse with like no fans. It was like a little setup, and it's just not the same. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
you're just holding events just to hold them, and I genuinely wouldn't want baseball to take that route.
They're going to have also, I mean, this just screams someone getting hurt because,
Yeah,
I mean, if they're all in isolation, yeah, but they're saying expanded roster. So if one person gets corona, they're saying, oh, put them to the side, put them on the IL, bring someone else in. But, like, you can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
because if baseball's back, teams are going to be trying to win it all. Like, it's not like, oh, this is just a cakewalk. I mean, I could see this maybe happening just for baseball if maybe they say no postseason. But
yeah, but
Yeah.
then what would be the point of playing the
Yeah.
season then if there's no postseason? That's even worse
yeah,
than having a postseason in empty spring training stadiums. Like,
Yeah. One of the things that Para and I discussed on our podcast was the possibility of maybe like some kind of tournament instead of doing a season, doing
Yeah.
more like a bracket style tournament where, I mean, it's not really baseball, but at least it's something. And then it would feel
Yeah.
like if there was a winner at the end, I mean, you could maybe not crown them World Series champions, but you'd have a winner of some
the
sort.
Corona
right?
champs.
Yeah, the Corona champs, something like that. Maybe get Corona to sponsor it.
That would
Corona
be
extra, Corona
classic.
champs.
But also what they discussed in the article was having robot umps.
Yeah.
Which
Mhm.
I know is something that they experimented with in like rookie league, I want to
Yeah.
say the past couple seasons. I don't know if I'm completely on board with that too. Like,
I'm all for that. Even for
are
like,
you?
yeah, when baseball comes back, 100%. People are like, oh, umpires, it's part of the game. They get stuff wrong. It's whatever. But it shouldn't be. If you have the opportunity to tell what are balls and strikes, why not implement that?
But here's my thing though, like it's tough because how are you gonna generate an accurate strike? Because all right, baseball
that's a different issue.
There's
Yeah,
no
it definitely
set
has to
strike
be.
zone for each player. So it's
Right.
like, how do you determine what a player's strike zone is?
I mean, there's got to be the technology has to be there. If the technology isn't there, then you can't do it.
No, the technology's there, but it's
It was
more of
bad.
like the players might not understand the concept.
It was bad. There have been videos of it in the Atlantic League, and
Yeah.
there were pitches that normally are a ball just based on how the catcher catches it that have been called strikes. Like a high
Yeah.
curve, the high curve ball would make an appearance back because you can throw it at the top of the zone. normally a ball when the catcher has
Hmm.
to reach up, but those things are getting called as strikes. It would drastically change, like what we know now as a strike and a ball. There will be room for that to change because if it's perfect, then
Sure.
that kind of
But I mean,
removes a bunch of
if
things.
there's a definition of balls and strikes, and umpires aren't going by it for whatever reason, if a pitch doesn't look like it's a strike, but technically it is, shouldn't we consider that a strike? I mean, shouldn't that be part of the game? Shouldn't it be
I
accurate
mean,
at least, or maybe change the definition of a strike to make it more like I don't know.
all right,
I'm just
we're not
spitballing
changing the
here.
definition of a strike. That's not
Well, it
happening.
seems like that's what you guys are saying because
No, but if you don't have umpires, the entire philosophy of pitch framing is dead.
Gone.
Yeah, that
There's
definitely.
no reason for catchers to frame anymore, and that's a crucial part of the game. That's why you need to have a solid catcher to call the game, to frame pitches, to block balls. I'm not on board with
All
robot
right, I
arms.
mean, I get the argument, but
Yeah,
I still think more consistency is needed.
yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, Brandon, are there any other like key points that are mentioned in the article about
7-inning doubleheaders.
does it mention like how often they would be?
I mean, the goal is when you bring baseball back is to get as close to 162 games as you possibly can. So, I mean, it says
Let's think about this realistically. If they do start the season, let's say they do implement this plan, I doubt it's going to start May 1st. That's way too soon. The world is still going to be a complete frenzy. So maybe end of May, early June, the earliest.
Say June 1st.
Yeah,
for
June
argument's sake.
1st, let's say. So if they could find a way to play 25 games a month, which I think is reasonable.
you got to remember you have to abide for 3 weeks of spring training, not 6 weeks. Though players can
Well,
probably
no,
get ready.
they could probably start like spring training in the middle of May and then start the season early June. So let's say like June 5th is opening day. It's just complicated because let's say they do play 25 games a month. How many months is there from June to October? So June, July, August, September. That's 5 months.
Yeah, if you play through October, that's 125 games.
That's more than enough. That's way more than enough, if you ask me.
Yeah, and you don't.
I'd be fine with 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they could honestly, if they want to do the doubleheader thing, they could probably start the season in like July, just to be safe.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but then now if you're doing double headers in the dead of summer in Arizona, last thing you want is a player getting heat stroke because they're going to be sitting in the stands. Remember,
that's a completely different situation now.
Yeah,
because you're sitting in the stands, and I don't think those stands are covered. What are they going to have?
Probably not.
Everyone's going to have an umbrella. Like
this whole thing's just such a mess. And I appreciate baseball like taking the initiative to try to make up a plan because it doesn't really seem like any other sport is doing that right now. So like I appreciate the effort, but I know it also mentions in the article that the only reason this is even being discussed is because the alternate plan would just be to not play baseball at all in 2020. So I think, like I mentioned before, you have to look at it like, what would you prefer, like baseball at 50% or no baseball at all?
I just want normal baseball back.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening this year, to be completely honest with you.
Barring something drastic changing, I don't think we'll see it because there's just too many things. And what Passan said in the article that people didn't read. People saw the report and they said, "Oh, baseball's a guaranteed to come back." I'm like, no, these are things that the Player Association and MLB needs to agree on. Those are two separate parties. You have MLB, who's Manfred trying to make money, and you have the players who some of them do want to just play. But then you got to start thinking about your health, as we said. And I just think now with the whole pandemic, do you really want to be away from your family?
I think that's going to be the main thing with this whole plan. A lot of quotations today, a lot of air quotes, because everything just doesn't really add up in my mind. And okay, so coronavirus sweeping across the world. The whole problem that MLB has is what are they going to do if a player gets it, right? That's why they're doing all this. Players can't sit in the dugout. There's no umpires. But my thing is like, if a player's going to get it, a player's going to get it. Like, you can't play like this and expect everything to just turn out normal. Like, eventually, we're going to have to, like, learn how to function in life with the coronavirus as a piece of our society, kind of like the flu. And, like, that's my complete mentality. So it's going to come to a point where once somebody gets it, we're going to have to learn to not shut down society and to keep things running smoothly and normally, because honestly, eventually we're all going to get it at some point. And like, I don't think that that's like a selfish statement or whatever, but I can't see normal life being disrupted through October. I think we just have to learn how to deal with it.
They mentioned in the article what would happen if someone would get it and how they can kind of draw players in. The only thing that they say that'll really kind of, because you would carry extra players in case one guy gets it, and those extra players would be getting a major league salary. So what they're pretty much saying is MLB will probably try to throw money at the players union, because imagine this, baseball being the only sport, you have all TV networks going to pay a shit ton of money to. So then you got the money, but then again, there are players that are going to think of their health first. And I think that's the big thing.
They have every right to. I mean, These guys aren't essential workers. Like, they aren't doctors. They aren't nurses. There's no reason that they have to go out there and play baseball, especially if they don't feel safe doing so, nor if they don't want to miss their family. I think it's completely fair. I don't know. I saw one reporter talking about it, but if Garrett Cole is willing to miss the birth of his kid to play baseball, sure, that's great. If he's not willing to, that should be completely fine, and there should be no judgment held against him for that.
Yeah.
It's just fair. It's a bad situation for everyone involved, and I don't know. It's a real weird situation, but let me ask you guys a question. Do you think, let's rate this on a scale of 0 to 100%, with 100% being definitely, what are the odds postseason baseball is played in the Bronx at any point in 2020?
I think it's very low. I think 10% maybe.
10%?
I think so. Because I think, all of the plans that I've seen out there have included pushing the season back. And if you push the season back, you can't play baseball in the Bronx in December, And not that they would necessarily go into December, but, late October, November, not late October, November, I think that I don't think that they would play.
They would use neutral sites if they push the season back.
Yeah, I think that would be the plan.
Do you think that there's going to be postseason baseball with fans present?
If there's postseason baseball, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so then we're looking at it. Let's look at this like hypothetically. Let's say there is postseason baseball, but it's held at a neutral site. So it's not in Los Angeles, it's not in New York. Let's say it's in Arizona, for example, and it's a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, and they allow fans to go. There's just going to be a ton of fans from Los Angeles and New York going to Arizona. It defeats the entire purpose. So they would have to play with no fans, because they would just be bringing the virus from the hotspots to Arizona.
I think at that point the idea wouldn't be to stop the spread of the virus. I think at that point you would have to be past the virus to be allowing fans.
You think it would be because of weather?
100%.
Oh.
Yeah, if we're playing in neutral sites, it's not because of the virus. It's because it's gotten too late to play in the wintertime in New York.
I think the only way we would get to that point is if it was like December.
Well, maybe even late November can get pretty cold.
And not recently, though. Like, I think last year it didn't really get freezing until like end of December, really.
Yeah.
And at that point, if baseball is still being played at the end of December, we have a serious issue on our hands.
There's no way. Well. You can't push back, because people keep forgetting. But you got the World Baseball Classic. That's cutting spring training a bit short, or not a bit short, but players are going to get ready early. You can't shorten their off season.
Do we think that's going to happen?
Yeah, you can't cancel that. I mean, with the virus, you can
cancel. Didn't they cancel it for like 10 years?
I don't remember, but I mean, that's big. It
was absent from like 2009 to 2017, right?
It was a last. We had 2013 World Baseball Classic.
There was?
Yeah, the Dominican Republic
Yes,
one.
I totally forgot about that. Oh, it wasn't in the Olympics.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean that. I mean they pushed the Olympics back, but that's because it's at the prime time of this. But we're talking about early March, late February, early March of next year, and hopefully by then we have some sort of treatment
Yeah.
with this.
If there's still issues with hosting events at that point, we
I
have
was just gonna say
bigger
that,
issues
like
than
by
the baseball classic.
by October to 2021, if we're still dealing with coronavirus on an exponential level
Yeah.
like it is now, we're in
Yeah.
much deeper trouble than Major League Baseball.
Correct.
But another thing I want to mention, which I mentioned in like our group chat yesterday, is let's say MLB does find a way to get this enticing plan underway, and they have baseball starting in May, in June, whenever it may be. Do we understand what that would do for the sport of baseball? Now, regardless of the substance of the game being played and it probably being under 50% of what it usually is, I have a feeling ratings would be through the roof.
Mhm.
People are going to be home. They're not going to be able to watch any other sports. There's going to be no basketball playoffs going on. Um, I don't know what the deal with football is going to be because that's probably the biggest contact sport there is.
Football will be fine. Football will be fine.
That's going to
Yeah.
be interesting. But yeah, baseball would just go through the roof. You would have a bunch of people that are going to be watching baseball that A, have not watched it in a very long time, or B, have never watched it in their lives. So I think that's the key part of what Major League Baseball is looking at right now. Because going back to the WrestleMania thing, I have not watched wrestling in about 10 years, but I watched WrestleMania this year because I was so bored and there's literally nothing else to do. So you're going to
Yeah.
have a bunch of people going towards baseball and it's going to be a moneymaker. And I think
Well,
they
actually,
know that.
the big thing that's happening is Dana White with UFC. He said he secured a private island, but here's the thing: the minute one UFC player gets coronavirus, his reputation and everything is blown over.
Yeah, I mean,
Those are the issues.
but I don't think that that's fair because these guys are just trying to, like I said before, trying to keep life at a somewhat normal pace. And if he's doing all the recommendations and he's getting a private island to hold these events and someone still ends up getting coronavirus, life happens.
Yeah.
Like,
At some point, there's only so much you can
yeah,
do.
like we can't, there's like, okay. So how long have we been going to do quarantine? A month?
Yeah. About.
I say maybe give it another month, maybe 2 months of life like this, and then eventually we're gonna have to start getting back to normal. Like we can't live like this forever, and we're gonna have to take initiatives and have life a little bit different to try to get back to that normal pace. We can't just sit and twiddle our thumbs for the next 6 months and think everything's just gonna get back to normal because things in China are they're starting to open again, and so I think it's only a matter of time before the United States catches on to.
Yeah. I mean, it took them about 2 months to
Yeah.
get here, and they're not back to normal yet. They're starting to ramp things up.
Slowly,
But
yeah,
they have to
slowly,
do it slowly because if another out, it can break out again.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you gotta get it under control, and then once it's under control, if we can get some like rapid testing things that they can mass distribute, yeah,
yeah,
we can get back to normal.
yeah. Regardless, though, like, am my final statement about the whole plan? Am I down with it? Not 100%. Do I think that there's a lot of things that could be fixed about it? Yeah. The whole service time issue is iffy, especially if they don't play the season. Guys like Mookie Betts would not even play a single game in the Dodger uniform. Then you have guys like Paxton and Tanaka that would have pitched their last pitch in the Bronx. It's just a whole confusing situation. But if they can find a way to get things under control and maybe limit player visits with their families during the season to maybe like one a month or a couple times a month, just so they don't have to completely miss every aspect of their normal lives for 6 months, then I could be down with it.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it all just matters. He said that not all those points Those are just some of the things they've discussed.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just things they're discussing.
You got to agree on it, and that's why people need to read a full article before they make an assumption. But like, we still haven't. I mean, we're kind of hitting the peak, but we still haven't hit the peak just yet.
Yeah. I mean, the peak should be coming soon, though, is what they're saying.
But
I mean, I'm no doctor. Don't take medical advice from me. But
No kidding.
that's all I'm saying.
But
Brian, I'm really not appreciating this.
It's just,
what were you saying, Brandon?
There's just too many things right now there's too many factors that come into place you got to start thinking of logical. It doesn't make sense to bring it back.
Yeah.
Because you could honestly lose some. I mean, of course, you have the older people, the boomers. Imagine them watching this product of baseball.
Yeah. But I keep saying, we have to get back to normal life eventually, and it's going to take slow steps, and that's all it's going to be. And I think as time goes on, this is going to start to make more sense, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we start to find out more information about the plan. And
have the World Baseball Classic early.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what MLB comes to terms to. But I want to say that we touched on every aspect of the plan that we wanted to today. Other than that, there's really no other news to talk about. We will have another episode this week with another special minor league guest, so keep an eye out for that. Right under our faces, you can see our Twitter handles. You can go follow us on there. Brian, Brandon, any last comments?
Yeah, bold prediction, like a kind of a big thing they should do. Instead of the MLB season, just have the World Baseball Classic. Make it longer. Just see what happens.
No, I mean, I don't think that.
It's a crazy idea.
I don't think it would happen because people would be like, if you could play the World Baseball Classic, just play the regular season.
True.
Yeah.
So, regardless, we'll see how all this works out, and we'll see you guys soon. Stay safe, wash your hands, social distance. Have a good one.
Take care, guys.